and direct and straight to the point. And so probably at this point, hopefully you've made an offer, the seller accepted your offer, and now whether you're going with a realtor or just two direct private parties, you might feel overwhelmed with all the things being thrown at you, what paperwork you need to do. If you're using a realtor, do you have to pay their fee, escrow, all this stuff that you might not be used to. So I just want to go through my experience with what happened. This was my first time buying real estate. It seemed very different than buying anything else. You could be buying a $100,000 truck, and it's the same process as if you're buying a $2,000 truck. But in real estate, there seems to be a lot of nuances. So I'm just going to take you guys through my experience, and hopefully you'll learn something, and then can help you out with your land purchase process. I just have some notes here I'm going to go through. I'm going to try to make it very direct, make it as simple as possible, and just share my experience with what happened during my land purchase process. So hopefully at this point you already made an offer to the seller accepted through their realtor, or just if you guys are dealing with each other directly. So at this point, I already visited the land, and they said they accepted my offer on a Monday. Okay, so the next day, the realtor requested proof of funds, which seems a bit, I didn't expect it. I didn't really want to go through the process of trying to get that, because you have to go to the bank, depending on where you bank, and trying to get them to give you a paper. It was just a little hassle, but I said, fair enough. Some people, they don't want to waste their time. So I said, I'll go get that. And then some hours later, the realtor requested that I sign a broker's agreement. And so I told her that I'm not willing to sign anything until I see what's in it, read it, make sure I'm not signing my whole life away, pretty much. She's kind of pressuring me to sign a little bit, but I kind of held firm. I don't want to sign anything until I understand what I'm signing. And so, yeah, Tuesday this happened. And then also Tuesday, the realtor asked me if I wanted to put earnest money down. And so this was my first time buying real estate. And the process was very different than what I expected. I bought a lot of things in my life. And in terms of like vehicles, for example, if you're buying a $100,000 truck, it's the same process as if you're buying a $1,000 truck. It's just, you do the title. If you want to make it more legit, you can go in front of like the police station or a bank and sign it. You can give them cash. You can give them whatever you guys agree on, and it's a done deal. There's no need for all these things being asked. So it seemed very inefficient. And it seemed like there's a lot of people trying to put their hands in the pot and get some money out of the deal that had no business really being in the deal. So yeah, this Tuesday was a little stressful because I got a really good deal on this deal. I got them down like 40 or 50%, and they accepted the offer, even though it was through a realtor. The property's been on the market a couple months. So even though it wasn't unlisted, I got a good deal. And so I was trying to get this done as quickly as possible, but the way the realtor kept asking me for things that I didn't really know what it's for, kind of put me off a little bit, because I just wanted to give them the money and get the deed signed, and that's it. I just wanted a simple transaction. So the realtor also asked me what title company I want to use. I didn't know what a title company does. She gave me some recommendations, which I'm sure they share some profits behind the curtain. And the realtor was always nice, but I was very inquisitive of where all these fees were and why I had to pay them, because it didn't really make sense. And so I called the title company, and I was like, all right, I just want to come sign the paperwork. And at this point, I didn't even know I had to sign the paperwork, because apparently, at the end of the process, I learned that the seller just needs to sign over the deed to me, and that's really it, unless you have a purchase agreement where you put some more terms in it. But in terms of just like vacant land, there's not really a lot to do. There's not much inspections or anything like that. So you don't. I didn't think we needed a purchase agreement. We ended up not doing one, but the seller basically just needs to sign the warranty deed. And so I called the title company, and they told me their closing fee is like $300, their delivery and handling fee, whatever that is, $100. County recording fee, that's standard, that's what the county charges. Search and exam fee for the title to make sure the title is good and without any problems, make sure you're not going to get sued or that the seller even owns the land. That's what this stuff is. Title exams, $500. Title search is $200. The difference is the title exam is a more thorough, from what I understood from them, and that like a lawyer goes through it. But honestly, I feel like, all this stuff, I don't think they go that in depth into it, if I had to guess. And then $50 for the title insurance, but you have to do this, the title exam, title search to get the title insurance. And so it's going to be like $1,200, $300 for the closing company that I wasn't really sure what they did. And I kept asking, and they kept telling me, we facilitate the transaction, we make sure both parties get what they're promised, and just a lot of buzzwords without giving a lot of substance to what I was paying them for. And so just for an example, if your property is $40,000, $1,300, $1,200 is like 3% of the purchase price, which is, not nothing. And I don't like to spend money on things that I don't understand why I'm paying money on. I'd rather spend that on anything else, at least that I get some value out of. And then if you do like earnest money, or, if you put money into escrow, that's another fee that could be like 1% or however much, depending on what company you go through. That's another fee. So all of a sudden, your simple transaction where, I just wanted to give them the money and I get the rights to the land has ballooned to all these different people, all these different moving parts, and all these fees for no reason. To this day, I still don't understand what all these things are for. And so in terms of the title search, that is a valid thing. Like, you need to make sure that the owners, the sellers, are actually the owners of the land, and make sure there's no liens against the property. So you make sure like they didn't pay some contractors 5 years ago, or it's actually, they co-own it with their brother-in-law or something like that. So that's an important thing to do. But we ended up just going to the county office in person, and you can do deed research there for free. You can also do it online, but some counties charge a bit of money to do it online, so that's at your own discretion. But we just went to the county office and we did it for free. We looked at all the deed history, all the owners, made sure they're legit, and also helps to research the owners, the current owners, and make sure they're upstanding people. If they have normal jobs, if they're on social media, you can look at their stuff and just make sure that they're legit and not somebody that doesn't exist. Not saying that if somebody doesn't exist, that means they're not legit, but it helps to know that these people are real people, in my opinion. And so after that Tuesday night, and after talking to the title company and they couldn't give me an answer, I went home and researched what is the simplest way that you can do a real estate purchase legally. And from my research, I learned that basically, you can give them a deed to sign. A general warranty deed gives you the most protections as a buyer, because from what I understand from my research, I'm not a legal expert, so take this as you will. This is not legal advice. A general warranty deed holds the seller liable for making sure that the land is actually their land, and that they don't have any liens. So basically, it holds the seller liable to an extent for anything that happened under their ownership and under previous ownerships and previous owners. There's also like a special warranty deed, um, and that's the same thing, except it's only for the period where the seller you're buying it from held the property, and then there's a quit claim deed, and that pretty much holds no protections for you as the seller, as the buyer. I could I could sign a quick claim deed for like, all of America, and I could sign it, but it hold no weight because I don't actually own the property, and I'm not liable for anything after the sale is done. So a general warranty deed is the best, holds the most protection for a buyer, and that's what I'd recommend anyone doing this. And so uh, Wednesday, the next morning, after researching and seeing that all I had to do was give them a general warranty deed, they sign it, I give them the money, and we're all good. All I would have to pay is a county recording fee of $27, which is standard. Can't get around that, which seems a lot better than the $1,200 to $1,300 that I would have to pay otherwise. So Wednesday morning, I called her, and once again, she's a nice lady, but I don't think I needed her service, and I don't think, I wanted all these different fees, because there's also a broker fee of like $400 that I would have had to pay for some reason. And so I basically told her, I don't want to, be represented by the broker. I don't want to be represented by the realtor. I just want to pay the money in cash, and I want to get the general warranty deed. I want to shake on it, and we're all good. That's what I wanted. So she wasn't very happy, obviously, because anytime you make it more difficult in the deal, that makes more work for them, and they just want to be paid. It's their job. But I read the broker agreement. It said a bunch of weird stuff in there, like how for the next 3 months or so, any property that I learned about in this period where I knew this realtor, which wasn't even my realtor, and we never signed any paperwork, is uh, they're they can get their commission from that, which didn't make any sense, and also the broker fee, which I never wanted a broker. I don't want them representing me, so I don't want to pay any fees. So all this fine print type things that a lot of people just sign, but once you start asking, what's this fee actually for, they don't have a good answer. She told me the broker fee is something that people just pay, and that wasn't a very good answer for me. And yeah, so I didn't think I needed all this stuff. So like I said, we went to the county to research the deed. And then the realtor came back to me and told me that she won't be able to represent the seller either, because if I don't sign the broker agreement, then she can't represent them. That didn't seem to make sense to me, but I tried to argue with her a little bit, but she was adamant that that's how it is legally. I don't think that's actually how it is, but like I wasn't going to argue because it affects me. Doesn't affect me at all. If anything, it helps the sellers because then they don't have to pay her, or maybe pay her as much. And she said she will release them from her contract. And so at this point, I was getting a little tired of, not having direct contact with the sellers, because I think that would make it smoother. So I went on Google and looked up their names, and thankfully, sometimes the internet is very helpful. I found a phone number. I called the phone number, and one of the owners answered. And so it turns out they were kind of the same wavelength as I was. They wanted to get the deal done. They told me they've been asking to get in contact with me from the realtor, but that didn't happen. And a lot of times the realtors, I think, don't want the buying and selling party to get in contact, because then that's an increased chance for them to not to do the deal without the realtor, even though some of the parties might have signed the broker agreement or whatnot. And so basically we agreed that we're gonna meet at a bank with a notary. I'm gonna have the general warranty deed for them to sign. I gave them a copy the night before just so they can take a look at it, make sure I'm not putting anything crazy. And the general structure of the warranty deed is just, I looked at the history of the warranty deeds, as I said, from the county, and I just copied pretty much word for word, changing the names, the structure of that deed, and that way I know that it'll be accepted because it's literally been accepted in the past. And so we met at the bank that next weekend, and they signed the deed, several copies of the deed, a general warranty deed, in front of a notary. So it was notarized. I gave them a copy, and then I got a certified check from my bank with the purchase amount and gave them to them. They cashed the check right then and there. It cleared. Everything was fine. And yeah, that was it. Very simple. Had to pay no closing costs other than the $27. You know, the title search very simple at the county office. Nothing crazy. Didn't have to pay escrow, which doesn't make sense to me. You know, sometimes when you come in from an outside lens, some of the stuff doesn't make sense. Like, why should I pay a company to hold my money? You know, they should be paying me to hold my money. Um, but yeah, here's a example of journal warranty deed. I'm gonna put a copy of it in the description if anyone finds it helpful. Just a lot of this is just copy paste from a template. You just put the legal description and you can find that from past versions of the deeds. You know, the property address. You know, who's gonna pay the taxes on the current year, if they aren't already paid, or the past year, and then the grantor, which is the seller. They sell. If it's husband and wife, they both sign. And then the notary notarizes, puts her signature, saying that the selling party were actually present and those signatures they signed were actually theirs. And so I took this copy, took it to the county, got it recorded, and something to pay attention to is some counties require other things along with the recording, the warranty deed or the deed in general. Like sometimes they ask you to fill out another piece of paper that tells them like what kind of sale it was, what it was the purchase price, things like that, from the assessor's office. Every county is different. I would just ask and make sure you do everything. Otherwise, it will delay the process a little bit. But yeah, I hope this video is helpful. I think I didn't realize how scammy, in my opinion, real estate transaction can be. I'm just used to the old ways, or the good old way of I want to buy something, the seller wants to sell something, we agree on a price, we can write it down to make it, you know, very professional, and for recording, we shake on it, we exchange, and we're done. There's no need for all these, you know, people trying to put their hand in the pot and just charge random fees. And I think people take advantage of this because a lot of times when people are buying real estate, they buy it with loans. And so if you're buying a house for $500,000 and they stick random fees of $25,000 or $12,000, people don't pay attention because in terms of their monthly payment, it's very small. But to me, it's more about principle of why am I paying for something where I don't believe I'm getting any value out of it. Doesn't matter if it's a $1 or $10,000. If you can't tell me in simple terms what I'm paying for, then, you know, I don't need it and I shouldn't have to sign for it. And most times you don't legally have to sign for it. You just have to push a little harder. I even asked the title company, like, how much would it cost for me to I just want them to sign the paper there. I don't want any title exam. I don't want anything. And they were like $500 or $800. And to me, that was crazy. I mean, I just need them to facilitate them coming in and signing. Nothing crazy. I don't need them to represent me. I don't need them to represent them. Just need them to facilitate a place for them to sign. And they told me a crazy number. And so we pretty much replaced them with just the bank and a notary. So their services to me seem overpriced and unnecessary. And when it comes to realtors, I would say sometimes you can get out of them. If I was going to sell real estate after the experience I've had, I'll do my best to not sell it through a realtor because I don't think it's I don't see the value in them. I'm not saying that there's in some circumstances where they do add value. I'm just saying personally, I wouldn't use them. And I thought their realtor that I was interacting with was very nice. I have nothing bad to say about her. I'm just saying I didn't need their services. And so I hope this video helped. If you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments. I'll get to them. But basically, this is how I bought this piece of land, this property, without pretty much any closing costs, just $27 for the county recording, without dealing with a bunch of paperwork, without doing earnest money, without doing, closing fees, without title exams of, all these random fees, without escrow fees, just plain cut and dry. We shook on it and we got our deed back a week or so later, the recorded version, and I think it went very smoothly. And I think more people should try to do it this way and cut out all these middlemen trying to collect their money when I don't think they actually add a lot of value. So I hope you guys got some benefit out of this video. If you did, if you can subscribe or leave a like, I really appreciate it. Otherwise, I'll see you guys in the next one. Thank you.